Welcome to our third installment of Open Air Poets. Coventry Library and Max Backs and all of you.
Hi everyone, thanks for coming. Like Ben said, this is the third reading we've done this summer here, and I think the poetry and weather goddesses have looked down on us every single time because the weather has just been exactly like this, and it's been a real nourishing part of the summer to do these readings, so thank you for being here. So our first reader tonight is Stephanie Ginese, and she's a writer and comedian from South Lorraine, the daughter of a Puerto Rican mother and Italian immigrant father. She currently lives in Cleveland with her two children. Unto Dogs, which is her much anticipated debut poetry book, is on the table, and it sold 100 copies at the launch event last month. So this is a special book. She has worked as the director of programs and residence for 12 literary arts, and la gustaría gritar la música, la poesía, los homies y la tierra por existir. She would like to shout out music, poetry, the homies, and the earth for existing. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for that lovely introduction, and Michelle, because Michelle's just dope, so we should always shout out Michelle when we have the opportunity. I'm going to read a few poems. I'm kind of going to read like the first 3 poems in the book. So yeah, let me take it away. A welcoming from the angel of tourism. There is a small ounce of space on the mole that rests above the God of my understanding's lip, where the dead and the unborn gather once the stars have settled. Mythic beasts of detriment and dare, tonguing the lucid river that cuts through this land of origin. Call it Eden, call it hell, depending on whom you ask. The place one goes when the last of the fight crawls from their mouths. Look closer at some of the wild things that roam under this hibiscus sky, open wholly, so you can bear witness to the story of a new God, a triple-mooned God. Watch as she creates entire galaxies with a pinch of sugar and the emptiness of a promise. You can do this too, you know. Be an alchemist, a saint, a good daughter. Turn choice into reckoning, history into splayed hip bones carving up the darkest parts. If you are ready to know salvation at the cost of a most merciless truth, because everything has a price, my dear, then come and sever little body from self, leave little body dancing by the river, and self running towards the last atomic moon. Thank you. This book does feature some characters in it. They're actually real people, not characters I made up, but they are important to Puerto Rican history. So when you pick up a copy of this book, you'll get a little history lesson as well. So this poem is called God in 3 Moons, and it introduces each of the characters. God in 3 Moons. Gladys, candied waxing crescent, daughter of the Lolita Lebron, has the top 3 buttons undone on her blouse. Bastard baby girl of a cane sugar daddy is on her way to school sucking on bitter fruit. Limonada spit running down her chin on the heaviest day of storm season. She is a small wonder, contemplating the loom of a wedding instead of a quinceañera. She realizes she will be a bride before she is a woman and halts a nauseous moment, admires the confectious sky, flashes a mouthful of skeletons at someone who isn't there, pulling herself up to sit atop an earnest wall, feet dangling over the edge, her legs a howl apart. Irene, fullest of redemptive moons, granddaughter of the Lolita Lebron, is playing mother again. Or better yet, playing with the idea of mothering it is her favorite dress to put on. Sometimes she wears a hospital gown when she has spent too much time seducing death. After all, she is her mother's daughter, and this is a story of the masters we inherit. A compulsive deity holding handfuls of lace as black as the space her mother Gladys left behind as she poured her body out of the speeding car. 15 satellites as steady as unborn cries orbit the lumen of Irene. One day, All of this will be memories trapped in the pages of a mirror. Now it is the heaviest of what she carries. The Lolita Lebron, atomic waning crescent, is storming the gates of heaven, left fist raised high, the terrifying red of her cinnamon gum lips parting to machine gun spit the words, "I did not come here to kill, I came here to die." St. Peter throws the gate keys into the celestial winds and runs for the meringue hills. Lolita enters, an epic story no one who comes after can escape. The angels crown her heaven's most beautiful. Lolita, Lolita, the choir begins. She takes the gilded halo into her mouth, gnashes it between her ready teeth, an unloaded clip, her most celebrated gospel. Thank you. This poem is called La Hija, the Good Daughter's Prayer. The mothers who came before me all refused soft hands over continuing the fight, never tolerated being under someone's rule. They knew life was as perishable as plantains the moment before they become maduros. The mothers who came before me were all machete-tongued, rum-drunk, cracked chicken neck, a little pique in the coffee. They are all gone, yet still breathing within the wildest parts of me. I am made in their vision. Thank you. This is called Prayer to Alleviate Shame. I like prayers. I like praying, whatever you believe. It's good. Meditation is also prayer, so whatever you believe, a little quiet time is good. Prayer to Alleviate Shame. Body, first capital, and I have bartered it. Oh God, oh trined mother, I have spent it. Story awash in the stench of what feeds me. I am not what I have done to get here. Body, trusted compass. Somehow we have always made it out alive. And isn't that what this miraculous shroud was fashioned for, this dazzling machine? Allow me to test the limits of what the senses can take. I am starting to unravel my obsession with what carries us upright and tangled. A bullet sails past the third moon, and I claw rivers into my body, unholiest of muses. Each breath that escapes is its own penance. Thank you. What's up, friends? I see a bunch of friends in the not building, but on the grass. That's cool. All right, hold on, page 31. I put a set list together on a little Post-it. Feels very profesh. This is called dermatillomania, AKA how my anxiety shows up, AKA what my mother passed down to me. I chase light each day, more so flame, seduced by that which occupies and consumes. I spend too many minutes weighing the future, its ghosts. Which saint do I pray to when the need to feast on fleeting moments becomes the devouring of skin? I hope to reincarnate as something that does not have teeth. Thank you. All right, one more. This is it, my closing number. Encore? I mean, I could do one more after that. We'll see how you feel. What? You can make a request. I take requests. This one's called aguacate. Take the womb, cut around the pit, as is done with its distant sister, the avocado. Spoon it out of skin. Add salt and lemon to keep. Spread it on seeded toast. Charge contempo colonizers $9 for slathered insides. And when they complain about a belly full of ghosts, open your legs as wide as interpretation and show them the empty trees. Thank you. What's up, man? No.
That's my favorite poem in the book.
That's the one. All right, I'll read that one and then I'll go. It's a little badass, you know.
Are you going to translate that title?
I do. So that's the first line of the poem. You're ahead of the game. So this book is about Puerto Rican history. If you're not familiar, before the birth control pill was brought to the United States and, gave us the freedoms that we have, I guess. They tested it on women on the island, not in a good way. It's kind of a really, really dark history. There was a lot of sterilization going on. Yeah. So, if you pick up this book, you'll know more about it. But then you can also Google it, which I highly suggest, because we should know where the things we use come from, right? All right, last one. Shout out Sabrina for the request. Hijadelagranputa. Hijadelagranputa. Translation: daughter of the greatest bitch. Sorry, kids. This is the term of endearment passed down from my mother and her mother, offered up like a herringbone, like it was sworn in the pages of a familial holy book. When I was a little puta, I mean girl, I mean too young to know the difference, I thought it all one long word, a necronomicon of sorts that would conjure a bitch queen mother from the potholes on our street, a wild-haired temptress with patent-heeled paws, a lipstick shade as dark as the fourth day's blood, and a mole painted right above her dark, waiting mouth. What I've always wanted to know is, who is this great bitch, most high bitch, God bitch? What of myself would I see echoed in the negative of her eyes? And if she were to meet death unwelcomed, like all the bitches that I love do, will I then be called to ascend the throne, be cast unto the darkest side of the moon only to return when bitches of a particular kind of wicked summon me? Or, if I am someday called to sit at the paws of Mami Puta, will she lovingly encourage my insolent nature, mother me the way mortal mothers never could? What I do know is, if there were ever a legacy to live towards, this I would consider the most fitting. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Suzanne.
That was great, Stephanie. Thank you. Our next reader tonight is Frank Rosen, and this feels like we're completing a circle because Frank was one of those poets that was canceled in 2020 because of the pandemic. So this is a long overdue reading for you, Frank. He grew up in East Germany during the Cold War, was politically active in underground student organizations throughout the revolution. He witnessed the fall of the Berlin Wall on November 9th, 1989, and moved to the US in 1997. He currently works as a family nurse practitioner. He's been writing poetry since a teenager, and his latest collection, the one we would have done a reading with 2 years ago, is Auschwitz of the Digital Age, and along with Stephanie and Michelle's books are on the table over there. Frank's work has appeared in literary journals and anthologies, and in his writing, as you'll see, he addresses themes of social injustice and cross-cultural struggle. Thanks, Frank.
Right. Good evening, everybody. I would like to thank Susan and Ben for inviting me tonight. This is a great honor for me. I was looking forward to that reading at Max Beck's a lot at the time, and then COVID hit and so many things changed. I've been in hiding, really. The last time I came out was at Jawbone in May in Kent. Kent has a really great poet group. For those of you who don't know, the Last Exit group in Kent is a really great forum and a great group to share work.
Third Friday night.
Yes, thank you. Third Friday, and it's just coming up tomorrow, right? Yeah. The work that I have here tonight is I've been writing this over the last 5 years. There's some work from the book in it, and also some other poetry, some of which was published in journals, some in anthologies by the Kent group, and I've organized them into 4 different little groups, which I call local concerns, environmental concerns, war with a capital W, and other struggles. Those are all very short, and there are some overlap between them. My poems are those of you who know me a little bit, my poems are usually pretty short, so bear with me. The first poem is called The Hostile Territories, Part 1. This poem was published in the American Journal of Poetry. The Hostile Territories. Lines from the Veterans Bridge, skinners in disrepair. You wave and flag down, they hung the first traitor. Surrender to soulmate, your most intimate snitch. Knowing the drill, confession screws in your forehead. This is Cleveland, the hostile territories. Rah, raw. Clinging to bullhorns, my wings cuffed, I fade forward. Blue tarp, rah, raw, pebbles. Barefoot and through, reeds and needles, schooling the wind. Step on steel toes, a fast food standoff. Black and white rainbow, wrong memory lane. I'm drifting in tongues, perimeter, pilgrim, torched summer yards. Eviction scuffle, my chain gang neighbors lay low. Late paramedics, a socialist junkie, freak bullet missing, the heart. The monitor stutters, my sympathicus, rah, raw, Cleveland, bayonets and chicken blood. Thank you. Wow, it kind of fits the poem. So there's a second part to this poem. It's the same title, The Hostile Territories Part 2. Commas in transit, dive bombing crows, the square and the crater. Your face mask under your breath, bloodlines, the river, clamoring church bells. This is Cleveland, the hostile territories, rah, raw. Frozen commuters from malls, rah, raw, to the funeral home. Train rides through coupons and ketchup, the sweet cul-de-sac of hope. You ride in circles, the square and the crater, to littered shores. The most promising couch in the land. The monitor beeps, your hypothalamus. Rah, raw, Cleveland. Thermometers at the gate. The poems from the second group, as I said in the introduction, or deal more with environmental concerns. The first one is called Even the Gulls. Even the gulls. The even the fish. The even murmur. The egret mute, half serious, gulp. Even the banks, passers-by, at sublethal levels. The Cuyahoga, even the gulls. Thank you. The second one is called the Whiskey Island Redemption. The Whiskey Island Redemption. A sick stretch of land, your hike cans and booze, black native and Irish blood, surrounding infection. In your roots and pipes, eternal rust, reinforced. Lake Erie swollen, ghosts of the pest house, a gasp from the septic river. Underground dark meat, rebel flag trekkers, chief dancing bear, contracting the burned. Slick pikes of coal and orange hue lining, you nearly set sail in a formalin pool. Now a fishy retreat with hostile and gas-chugging rednecks. A lighthouse to cope, tilt your cannon to instant flash. Your selfie, an online sensation. Thank you. I'm going to move on to the next little section that I have, war with a capital W. The next poem was inspired by we actually just had the first anniversary of the harrowing withdrawal of American troops from Afghanistan. I wrote this after reading some of the refugee reports, and I have some military experience myself. I was drafted, conscripted into the East German Army and served 18 months during the Cold War. This poem is called Dear Death, Peace Dove. Over the wing, you peeked into the fog, an eternity on the tarmac. Parachutes, shells, and rumors. A postcard and your first poem to the president. Sorry. The next poem is called Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Sorry. They are short, they're brief. Hang in there. Vietnam Veterans Memorial. An arrow to nowhere, the dead, relatives, the plane. Tourists whisper, American pain. A bone of honor, the kid, molesters, the rain. Thank you. And a couple poems from the last sections. These are pretty much, most of them are from the book. First one is called Progressive Grief. As if a drive-by shooting, your local news window forced you to draw the race card, staring the victim down through your private eye, the relief you can't feel, but adds proof you can buy, tracking your disbelief with American greetings, the panic you can't see, but the skin color you can trust. Thank you. Next one I call my brief American eternity. Since I crashed in this land of hope, honey, and sails, the candles of sweet decline, from the dying glaciers heating a miner's chest, I can't clean this hand of dope, money, and nails, laying miners to rest. Thank you. The next one is, that's a newer one that's not in the book. It's called The Lower Depth. This one is set in the ominous year of 1984. I was in East Germany. It was New Year's Eve, 2 a.m., and stuck in a train station. And it was kind of a Kafkaesque situation. East German train stations, it was really a trip at that time to experience the life and the supervision that was pretty much all around. The Lower Depth. We stood served up in the waiting room, neon lit, delayed. A numbing tremor, your bloody boots up the nose. Grey Solyanka, a brand new year with ground meat, vodka, and spooks. Our glasses in very slow motion, and the sun to rise in the west. Thank you. The next one is called Dancer from the Dance on the Road to Totalitarianism. You breathe hard, the unit jargon, lights out for another day. Your anger broke the machine. As phantoms ride through distractions, you turn right in your very own way. Thank you. The last one is kind of like a little thank you to two of my favorite cafes in Cleveland, the Rising Star and the Phoenix in Hingetown and Ohio City, where I wrote a lot of the poems that ended up in the book. It's called My Ghoul Goodbye. Take my favorite cafe, an old Cleveland fire station, roasting their opaque brew, spilling beans carefully over the ground, imported, hot-flavored environmental fascistas. I'm tied to a cool mental high chair, watching baristas sweat ornaments into foam. An East German poet tasting the bark of American poetic diction. I slip back into Bauhaus measures, burn through the roof of my mouth, hissing my ghoul goodbye. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Our last poet tonight is Michelle Smith. Michelle has two poetry collections on the table, Ariel in Black and Vagina Analogues. She's the programming associate at Literary Cleveland. And if you get a load of what Literary Cleveland's doing, Michelle, you're just doing an awesome job. I mean, we have on the table, there's a postcard for the Incubator, which is coming up next month, which is a free 2-day workshop at Cleveland Public Library. And the programming is so comprehensive, so rich, so inspiring. I just want to thank you very much for your role in that. Michelle also teaches at Lake Erie Inc., which is an after-school writing program just in the Coventry School right behind us here. She also founded the Blacks Museum, an annual performance showcase dedicated to honoring notable Black figures in American history and culture. Thanks, Michelle.
That's just about right for you,
Right.
don't you think?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm short.
Let me just.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, everybody. Like Suzanne said, there is a free conference, 2 days, CPL, the 9th and the 10th of September, all day, all kinds of sessions, fiction, nonfiction, Bookstagram, BookTube. Stephanie is going to have a conversation with Noor Hindi, another amazing local poet, talking about their collections, their debut collections. So you have to come. You have to get a flyer. Also, Matt would kill me if I didn't say that. So since it's being taped, there's evidence. I'm going to start with this piece from the Analogues, and it's a shout out to one of my favorite local poets, Quartez Harris. Analogues are poems that I took that were male poems that I flipped and made female poems, because sometimes we forget when we're reading poems about Black people that there are Black women, and sometimes when we read poems about women, we forget that there are Black women. So that's why it's Analogues. And this is Girls Analogue to Boys by Quartez Harris. There we were, hanging around, snapping and popping, double bubble, jutting tits and hips, pouting lips, sexually sucker punching these niggas, trying to make a movie out of anything that happened. Trying to stoke desire into our not yet exes, waiting for a come on which would justify our anticipation. We were armed with lust, impossibly open, unbroken, sweet, unready, and oh so pretty. There was the future, which led off to some magical thing called marriage. It seemed the world might be bigger than the circle of some boy's ashy arms, but no one reassured us. Being so young, we didn't know growing up meant more than wrapping folks in our bodies like we were blankets. Fast acting girls, glittering with unknown gifts, afraid to create anything a man couldn't imagine, desperate for a dad's validation. Wish the mothers at my church let my girls and me know how bad it hurt to be knocked up. Gave our bodies something else to want rather than brokenness and babies, thinking, of course, this is what we are made for. This is how we become women. All right. So that's the second book. This is the first one. It's called Ariel in Black. And the reason it's called Ariel in Black is because it's a whole bunch of Scentos made out of Ariel Plath's, no, Sylvia Plath's Ariel. If you don't know what a Cento is a poem that's made out of other poems. So I took that book, made my own. It's my favorite book. So, you know, you kind of have to destroy your idols. This is Cento number 7, The Black Woman Activist, or The Sacrificial Yam, for Alicia Garza, Patrice Cullors, and Noble Tometi. The midwife slapped your foot soles, and your bald cry took its place among the elements. The pure gold baby that melts to a shriek. I wake to listen. One cry, and I stumble from bed. I fly to a name, pumped ahead by these pistons, this blood. It is Adam's side, this earth I rise from, and I in agony, charred skirts and death mask. The Spider-Men have caught you, how they hate you, the face at the end of the flare, kamikaze man. They are smiling, worming themselves into niches, trawling your dark, cold folds of ego. I see your voice. My mind whines to you. Old barnacled homunculus, such a dark tunnel. You flicker, a mouth just bloodied, wrinkly and clear red. I put my hands among the flames. You have a hole. The stain on your gauze darkens and tarnishes. Tears drip and thicken. They weld to me like plums. You are terrified. Open your hand. Here is a hand to fill it and do whatever you tell it. Tend, as water tends to the pebbles it must run over, smoothing them gently, sweetly, sweetly. Oh, love. Black is an art like everything else. I do it exceptionally well. I do it so it feels real. I do it so it feels like hell. To the same place, the same face, the same brute that knocks me out. It's easy enough. I guess you could say I have a call. Clouds pass and disperse. Are those the faces of love, those pale irretrievables? Is it for such I agitate my heart? I breathe in. I turn and burn, tugging the world. Jealousy filling my veins with invisibles. The pain red mottled like cut necks of such violence will tolerate no bystanding. So murderous dead men cry from it. I am nobody. I have given my name and my day clothes up, and my history to my husband and child. My body is a pebble to them, minute and shrunk for export. And I have no face. I have never been so pure. I know the bottom. I know it with my great taproot. It is what you fear. I do not fear it. I have been there. I stand in a column of winged, unmiraculous women. So these last poems are new. So these are tough because these are personal. Usually I give myself some kind of assignment like, oh, let me make a book out of another book, or oh, let me analogize other people's poems. But these poems are just poems. It's about the pandemic and what it did to my marriage. Saturday night in the pandemic. I fell asleep on the couch again. These days, my brain is even less predictable. Worse than the 8th grader seething in her bedroom, a coronavirus caught in an unwanted bubble. I had a dream. I was in a beauty pageant, me and Beyonce. We were sitting in the dressing room, each at a mirror, crying. I, because I was the loser, she, because she was the winner. But then we smelled smoke, saw the orange haze through the cracked door. There was fire burning up the backstage, and we both knew we couldn't get out. We were going to die here, in wigs and sequin dresses, trapped in the oh no of believing in bodies as trophies. I was sad and accidentally sighed, a face full of cyanide. I felt it stab my lung, then realized I was dreaming, then woke up. I was angry. I could still feel something sticking, my goddamn underwire. I went to the bedroom to get my one needle, my only thread, and I was guilty, like always, that I am not my mother. I am only good for dreams and poems. But my husband caught me in the hallway. Look at this, baby. It was a picture and a text, his homeboy still alive, and my husband smiling with his eyes and not just his teeth. And I knew that wherever he hid the gash, it was bleeding now. So I held him, because that's what love is, right? Volunteering, getting their blood on you. But even if I'm wrong, and my tears can't wash anything off him, at least he isn't crying alone. At least he is crying. At least we are still each other's thread and needle. At least there is no fire here burning toward us, unless there is. This one is called January 6th. I read tonight in Kindred that sometimes when the ancestors married, they jumped the broom backward. And I thought, look at us, making a mockery, bittering the sweet history with this sad unmarrying. Because it is happening. We are coming apart, like the tattered hanks of an unloved braid. We are falling away from each other, like lost crow's feathers, into a strangeness that ends at two lonely points on a black street. So this one is called Mess-iah, but it's MESS hyphen IAH, so Mess-iah. You are so your father, a sinner, an angry God, his triplicate copy, starver, torturer, toppler. You are his revelation, his unkillable issue, and he is yours. My brimstone man, bright yellow bushfire. Your love is the light in my eyes, smoke in my mouth, smoke in my nose, taste in my mouth. You are blinding and layered and meaty, a lamb in my arms, a lion with my head in your mouth. You are so holy, turning out temples, praying with pretty hands, taking vain. I am your storefront church. Oh, how I have believed you. Lit and lit and lit your votive heart. I have scrubbed your bloody crucifix. I have testified. I have wept. I have knelt for you. I am here now on the threshing floor, my knees ground into the rice left over from my parents' and your parents' weddings. I come before you, petitioning for the girl I couldn't be, that little lamb without blemish, taken and slaughtered, twin of the boy you were, also sacrificed to your imperious absent dad. Lo, I come before you petitioning for the girl we have, for the grace that I wanted. Yet we know gods do not favor their children. Gods do not favor their mothers. Gods repay pain with pain. They dry seas and rivers. They rule with iron and shed blood. Yes, I know. God love is whirlwind and storm. It melts hills. It quakes mountains. Spits swords from a furious mouth. It won't spare our daughter. It didn't spare you. It won't save me. I'll just do one more. March 1st. There was so much whining in her text about infinity hugs. This white girl is so stupid. She is allowed to be so stupid, solipsistic and entitled to coddling. She even has a little girl's name. She just won't get the joke, will she? You promised me forever too. First, in front of God and everybody. My mama, your daddy, our child. You said take, you said have, you said hold. You bought a diamond, bright black stone, eye clean. You said wed. But your inclusions cracked. You split, you gave, you broke our until. So, here we all are at the altar, piled on each other, hopes crushed in the arms of a shameful desolated now. Thank you. Don't forget to get your postcards for Incubator.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming. Next up for this collaboration between the bookstore and the library, we're taking it inside. September 1st, we have Dennis Keating. He wrote a book about Cleveland during the Civil War. And in October, Gregory T. Moore will be here. He's a voting rights activist. He just wrote a book. And then for us poetry fans, Laura Atmadarshan Santoro will be here in November, and she just did a 3-volume translation of the Bhagavad Gita. So, thanks everyone for coming.